Hello, everyone. I am the Baron, and we are now going to be talking about small group tactics, but specifically about wargaming. Now, we talked about already some of the basic aspects of small group tactics, and that is going to be anything from a 3 to 4 person, maybe up to 5 person fighting aspect. So that means one person's going to break off and fight against 2, or 2 people are going to break off, fight against 3 or 4. Maybe you might even have 3 break off, fight against 5. So when stuff like that happens, you have to make sure that what you're doing is dependent upon a specific mission, okay, or a goal. One of those things that needs to come into place is, what is your primary objective for this? What is your goal? Okay, the first one we're going to talk about is pretty much we're just trying to have the other people break off some people and get them out of the main fight. Okay, all that is at that point is you're just delaying. Okay, so the mission is to delay. You're not really out there to actually fight someone. You're not actually out there to really kill. If you can, that's great. The whole purpose is not to die, and just to keep on going after them, striking them a little bit, and then running away a little bit, striking, running away. Some people will go and start breaking off, and then they won't engage, and they'll break off and move a little bit more. Usually you'll get to do that about 2, maybe 3 times max, and then the other people will be like, they're not trying to fight me. All right, so we're going to break off and we're going to go back. You've maybe delayed 20, maybe 30 seconds at the most. You want to be able to delay up to a minute. That is the goal. If you can kill someone, leg someone, or delay them for a minute, you have won. Because that was your job, your mission, your task. It doesn't mean that your team won, okay? They could have gone out there and still died, but you were the last surviving person because you did your job, okay? So we're gonna go and talk about this a little bit more, and what we're going to do is, like I said, specifically Wargame, we're going to go and discuss how you would command that, okay? So say I'm one of the commanders, okay? And I say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come up with this plan, blah, 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 blah. And then I tell the one person, I want you to break off either left or right, and I want you to delay at least 1 to 2 of their fighters, and preferably break them off so they're not part of the main team. So you just go out there, fight, run back a little bit, keep on fighting. If they're like, all right, we're going to go back with the main group, you attack them, which makes them stop going back to their main element. And then they have to continue to fight you, which causing an additional delay. So how would we do this? All right, I would say, now remember, you might not be the only person that's doing that. The other team might also have a rover that's doing a delay or an attack or what's known as a raid or a skirmish, where they're just trying to come in and not really kill someone, but just maybe just leg a few people to cause a disruption. It's called a disruption. So you need to have a plan for both attacking and to counter the exact same type of thing that could happen against you. All right. So if I'm going to say, I want you, all right, you're going to go and you're going to delay. All right. How do I want you to do that? Am I going to use a sword and shield? Am I going to use a 9-foot spear? Am I going to use a pole arm? More than likely, you will never use a 9-foot spear except in the main effort. Okay. Anyone that's on the line, they can cause a lot of damage. They have a lot of range. Trying to run with a spear is just kind of weird. Okay. So what I would do is I would either go sword and shield, Florentine, or a pole arm or a great weapon. Okay. That way you have a lot of range. You can run more with a pole arm, or a great weapon, or a Florentine than you can really with sword and shield, because you can move, you can adjust your stance, you can go one way, stop real quick, go the other way. So if I want someone to delay, I will either send usually first a pole arm or a Florentiner out to do that. If not, if I know someone that's really good, very energetic, maybe they got a smaller shield, then I'll send maybe a sword and shield person to do that. All right. So hopefully I can draw this better. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. So from my line, I will go and I will break off one of these two from the end, or I might have one of the people, and I'm going to do a circle as me as the commander. I would have that person with me. Therefore, I can say, go this way or this way while we're marching forward. Okay. And at that point, I can identify the weak spot. Okay. Now, usually it's going to be decided ahead of time. All right. And then this person will be my reserve to fight against theirs. And I'll explain that later. All right. If I got a good Florentiner, okay, I will usually have this side or a good polearm start with the flank. That is because usually I'll do double line for the enemy. This is going to be the weak side for most of the enemy, unless they got a lefty or they understand how this usually works. They will usually cover a little bit more people on their weak side. So if I bring this person out over here, they're going to break off a few people here, which is going to cause even more of a weak point further on down, because they'll probably send off 2 of their fighters against my 1. Remember, they always want to have a numerical advantage. If they send off 1 fighter, that usually means that they got a really good fighter, and now the numbers really don't match because they're equal. Okay. If that happens, this person needs to come back and actually come close to the line again, because your plan is not really going to work. If this person is not all that great, then keep on and start over here. So say he's over here, you're over here, you attack here, and then you back away. They attack here, you attack here, you back away. All of a sudden, what's happening is you're rotating this person and going back. So they are much farther away from their line. Okay. Now, whenever you send someone out to do any type of activity, what you really want to do is make sure that they have more than one mission. Okay, so you'd have a primary and an alternate mission. What that means is if this person comes over here and attacks this person, and they come in, they go up, they take a step back, and with the pole arm, they get them in the leg. Now they're on the ground, they're not moving. Okay, your job was to delay them. Hey, you killed them in 10 seconds. What's your next job? You need an alternate mission. Now your still main mission is to still delay. What you can do though is with that second line, all right, I killed them. Now I'm going to go around here and I'm going to cause them to change momentum, stop movement, take part of their team and start facing me, which means that they now cannot move forward. And if they do move forward, you're going to have a gap in the line, which is great. This is what you want so that you can break through. If they get in here and all of a sudden you come in and you cause them to change direction or stop movement, you now have increased your own line's ability to cause a lot of damage, either by coming forward or pincering into that gap, or correction, you got your main element right here, and you got your support element that's going to flank, or you can do two elements of pincer movement and try and go around. And at which point now they're doing this. Which means they're half their forces. They have broken up to half their forces, and they can't go back, because if they go back, they're going to run into their own element. So this is what you want to do. You want to break momentum. You want to break formation. That is always going to be the key as the commander, is to break up what their plan is. A lot of times when the enemy sees that their plan is not working, what they'll do is they'll just do a straight frontal charge, okay? If they do a straight frontal charge, let them. You break your force at that point, you break into two teams. You need to have this identified early, that if they break through, we break into two teams. Once we break into two teams, we rotate here, and now we have, it's called an alley. They come through that alley, and we just start wailing on them, head, arms, legs, whatever it is, okay? Because once they charge, they are going to commit to the charge, which usually means that they're not going to focus on the left and right. They're just going to go straight forward. So they're going to bring their shields up high, swords up high, and they're just going to go full bore, straight forward, and just start hitting. Okay, you take a couple steps back to the side, let them through, hit them in the legs. They stop moving. You're creating what's known as a bottleneck, which means that they're restricted in their movement, okay? Now, as with everything, whenever you do this, you always want to practice this in a walk. Okay, everyone, this is what we're going to do first. So you verbally tell them, that's the crawl, all right? Then you can actually go out there and without sword and shield, get in formation and say, okay, we're going to go through this. And you have one commander on the other side, one commander on your side, and you explain what you're going to do. Then you can go, you know, helmet, sword and shield, pole arms, whatever weapon styles you want, and you go through it again and you see what's available. Then when you're ready, you go the run phase, which is you put on armor and you actually go through it to see how well it works. Okay. Now, as I said before, okay, double for enemy. I can't remember what I said first. We're going to go with this. So now, say for example, I know that usually the enemy goes and has a rover or a flanker or whatever they want to do. All right. What I'm going to do is, as the commander, I am going to have one of my best fighters, one that is a great single on or 1 against 2 fighters. Usually you're going to get some super duke that's like, I can kill anything. All right, you're going to be my guy. Might not like it, but hey, you're the commander, people should listen to you. If not, you find someone who will listen to you that is a great fighter. All right, and you say, all right, just follow next to me. And when I say go, I will point you at the spot that I want you to attack. And all of a sudden, like I said, usually this side is the weak side. So if they send a group out over here, I'm going to tell that fighter, come over here and stop them. That person should be very fast, okay? So they don't get a chance to attack here and stop movement of my formation. So at which point I will tell that person to come over here, and then they will have an engagement. Now, at which point here, it could be just a single person against a single person. That's why you want to have a really good single fighter. Sword and shield, maybe pole arm. I would usually go sword and shield or Florentine, usually not pole arm. But for the person over here that's going to attack, I will usually have a pole arm. It gives me a bit more range, a bit more maneuverability. Also, instead of just hitting, I can also thrust, leg, and still keep on attacking. So here, when you're wanting to stop the attack, you specifically have one of your best fighters go out there, and that stops their entire plan, while it still keeps your availability to change and delay or whatever your plan is to still work on their end. And then again, like I said, you should always have one commander on this side, one commander on this side. Now, some people will say, well, how many people do you really need to have as a commander? Okay, you should have, for a small group to a medium group, you should have a main force and a support force. Okay, the main force, you should be the commander of. Your next best person should be the commander of the support force. If it's 10 people, 5 and 5. If you got more, say you got 12, then I will say, all right, I will take 5 and 5, and I will take one person that I will command to stop their rover, and that other person's job is to delay. As you can see, it can get quite complicated on how you're going to do it. But when you start wargaming all these things, the war game is just a possibility in your mind that you try and do. And the second thing that always comes into play is you have to be able to react. This is the plan. If the plan works, that's great. Well, what's the next step? How is that implementing in your plan for the main element? If you go out there and that person gets legged and they have to go down, what's your backup? Are you going to be able to do that? Or should you go out there, stop that person? Do you want to have a secondary rover in reserve to go out? How do you want to do this? This is every aspect of wargaming. How am I going to do this? What's my alternate plan? If this happens, what will I do to enhance or expedite? If it's a failure, how am I going to recover? And as you have smaller people, the things can change so quickly. Because you'd be like, all right, we're doing really good. And then all of a sudden, 3 of your people are dead. And now, wait a minute, we're at a disadvantage. And all three of the people are on my left side. That means more than likely the enemy is going to start swinging over to my left side because it's now the weakest side. How am I going to correct for this? Okay. Every time something happens, you have to be able to come up with an alternate course of action that's both a positive and a negative. If this works out great, what are we going to do? If it works out bad, how are we going to fix it or recover from it? Some people, if they're brand new, if they don't like what's going on, they immediately get confused and they'll call a hold for no reason. And that's because they can't think ahead, or they didn't think ahead. And they're like, hold! And they're like, well, why are you calling a hold? I just got flustered and confused. It happens. So these are the things on how you start to working. So that first one is a delay, okay? The goal, like I said, is to get at least 1 to 2 of their fighters to not be part of their main force for 1 minute. That is a delay. How do you do that? Many different ways. Okay, now we're going to do what's known as a disrupt. A disrupt means that you're disrupting their movement or their formation. Okay, how do you do that? Instead of going out, all right, instead of going out and just breaking off 2 of these people away, your goal is to not break them off. Okay. Your goal is to go take a couple steps out and then go straight to the corner. Okay. When you go straight to the corner and they're moving forward, this area stops. This area keeps on moving, and now you have that corner. Whenever you have a corner is a weakness because you got one person that's going to be doing this. Sorry, get out. They're like, okay, I'm in the main element, and now I'm doing this. Back and back. Okay, they can't focus. They can't concentrate on one thing until, well, I have to actually concentrate on one force, and then as soon as that happens, there's now an opening to go through here. Or if they're concentrating here, now there's an opening to go here. Okay? Whenever you have this, what you need to have at this point is you need to have, because it could happen on this side too, okay? For this to happen, you need to tell someone over here and over here, I need a 9-foot spear. Because as soon as that person comes over here, stops movement, this 9-foot spear has the capability of attacking the weak point corner. Because they're gonna, okay, we're gonna stop here, we're gonna transition, and now that spear has 9 feet to make sure that they're attacking. If that person comes here, is attacking right there, this person right here has now the capability of waiting till that person's like, who do I attack? Who do I block? Who do I block? And then a 9-foot spear comes over here, and they come over and they're like, ha-ha. And then that pole arm comes into the side and kills that person at the corner. You want to be able to cause conflict in a weak spot. Same thing, you don't have to kill them. Leg them causes them to change formation. Because if someone has to go down to their knees, now all of a sudden, most of the time, people will be like, oh, well, we need to protect this guy. So we stand next to him. And now that person has less shot capability because they're on the ground and they can't really throw because now there's a person here on their team that's blocking some range. At that point, the best thing is if this person gets legged, this person takes a step over here, and this person should actually kind of go forward and at an angle. You kind of need to leave this person, okay? You need to solidify your lines, because if you don't do that, you're going to cause them to, all right, we need to group together a little bit more. Well, now you're creating a killing pocket of people who can't throw a lot of great shots, or they can't really defend, or they can't really specifically move real well. When someone is legged, you know what? Leave them. Even if they're on your own team, take a step off to the side, make sure you have full range of mobility, movement, shots, everything. That person is probably not going to get hit anyway because they're not really focusing on the person. Now, the interesting thing is, say you're in a much bigger battle and there's a lot of people that are legged. Those people who are legged should do little movements towards each other and create a nice little non-fighting movable package. It's a whole bunch of people on their knees fighting together as a group. It can work. It's not always going to work. And anyone who has a pole arm or a spear is pretty much just going to kill them from range. But at least when they're on their knees and they can stick together as a group, they have a better chance of fighting and surviving. Okay? So we've disrupted them. Okay? That's their line, that's our line. Our job is to disrupt them by changing their movement, changing their formation, okay? Now, what are some other ways to disrupt? Okay, in the military, there is a very basic, but it is the most common thing, and that is what's known as attack, defend, counterattack, okay? So this works almost all the time. What does that mean? All right, our goal is to march forward and attack them. Okay, they come forward and they attack us. As soon as they get in within range, if it's a really big one, they'll send all their spears forward and they'll do the range game. In smaller tactics, that does not usually work. So what you want to do is you want to get people that's going to come in, attack, usually going to be pole arm and sword and shield, mostly in small group tactics, because you can do a lot more maneuvering. The battles last a lot shorter. Spears might get 1 or 2, which is really good, but they're also going to be firing outside of formation because they're going to be either off to the side or a couple steps back, that type of thing. So what you want to do is you want to come in and attack, and then immediately just do a defense, okay? What that means is instead of going forward and forward and forward, you just tell them to stop moving. You bring your sword and shields up. You go and have them fight 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds. And what you're doing is, as a defense, you're just holding them. If you kill them, that's great, but the main purpose is to hold them. And then what you're doing is, as the commander, you are determining what is your next step, which is the counterattack. Okay, and at which point, like I say, if I'll call this team A and this will be team B. All right, they're attacking and I see that there's a weakness on this side. I will say team A flank left. At which point this whole team as a group comes up and attacks this way. Again, what'll happen is this group will now start to decrease their formation and bring it in. That's good. Once this happens, you're now creating what some people call the whirlpool of death. And that is every time that the enemy has to move back or change formation backwards, okay, it's always a benefit. And that is the main goal. And then sometimes what'll happen is when I say the whirlpool of death, this side will start to attack. So it's, as you can see, it starts to spin. That's why it's called the whirlpool of death. Okay. Now, at this point, this side of the enemy will almost always say attack or advance or forward. This is when Group B needs to have a good understanding of, all right, once they attack, we are going to attack too. Once they attack, we are going to do nothing but defend like a shield wall. All right, when they attack like this, what we're going to do is we're going to do a two-step back. What they do is they say back, back. And what that does is it causes a separation so that this group, however many people, will attack forward. This group is still being attacked from the side. And as soon as you usually take 2 steps, it can be 3, it can be 5, whatever your command is, that is when I would yell, Team B, attack. And at which point they go full force this way because you're stopping their movement. Okay? So it's attack, defend, counterattack here too. You can also do counterattack, boom, and then say, for example, after 10, 15 seconds, you say step back, counterattack a second time. So you're doing 2 defenses and 2 counterattacks. Sorry, my drawing is not the greatest, but this is, and this is, like I said, where you take the whole concept of wargaming and you figure out what works good. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to do this again. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put more pole arms on the left side of my line. Why do I want to do that? Because that's where I'm going to be attacking. And with pole arms, I now can attack, but then I can also break pole arms off and say I'm going to take 2 pole arms, and as soon as they attack, I'm going to have David and Rochelle, they're going to go and attack this corner, which is going to also stop some of their movement. And as soon as their movement stops, that is the sign for the counterattack to come through. If you can do this, and I'm serious, get people to understand what their job is, to get to the point where, all right, once this occurs, I want you two to watch when that line attacks. And as soon as that line attacks, you two break off and you run to that line. As soon as you hit that line will stop. Once that line stops, that is our signal to counterattack forward. Since their line is stopped, they have now lost the initiative and lost the movement and momentum. Now we will get it back. All these types of things are huge, and it takes many, many times of practice. And this is one of the best aspects about it, because the more you do it at a small group level, then you start bringing it to a higher group level. You're like, all right, now I have this capability. When I command a much larger unit, like I said in my previous stuff, I will always have a reserve element. And that reserve element is going to be about 20 to 30 people. That's usually when during the large group tactics. Those large group tactics are going to be massively important, because now you can go and see what's going on in your command. All right, main element. Bethany, you're in charge of that. You will go, and this is your main job. You are going to be going out there, attack, defend, counterattack, defend, counterattack, defend. Your goal is to make sure this area doesn't collapse. All right. David, you're going to go over here and you're going to block their assault element or their support element that's going to come in on the side. What's going to happen is as soon as that happens and we see whichever is weakest, because sometimes you'll be thinking, all right, they are the main element and they're the support element. And you find out that it's reversed. So that's why you need to have, what is your primary job? What is your alternate job? Then when you find out this is the weakest part, this is the main element and it is collapsing, then you take your reserve and you punch through it. And that destroys their main element. Then you bring everyone back onto either the support element that has been holding this entire time, and now you outnumber them 3-1. That's great. So every time you take a small group tactic, it works as you get to a medium and as a large group. You just change the number of people you have. That is key. That's why understanding small group tactics, having a visibility of not just this is my job. No, your job is to do the mission. What is the mission? To delay. Okay, I can delay for 1 minute. Am I going to stay here or am I going to attack, defend, step up, counterattack, defend, counterattack, defend? Hey, guess what? You just understood the whole concept of delaying by using attack, defend, counterattack for 1 minute. That's exactly it. It's the exact same thing higher up as it is lower down. Understanding the lower down aspects means that you can expand when you go up. And that's the best part about it. The more you do, the more you try, the more you're going to understand. Then, after you understand, then you can start changing the equation of the line. I'm going to need at least 30 spearmen instead of 10. I'm going to need half as many sword and shield men, and those other half are going to be switched to pole arms. Well, why are you going to do that? Because every time we've done this, we have had more sword and shield, and we've done less moving. We have done less counterattacking, and we have less range capability. So we're going to increase range. We're going to increase mobility. So we're going to be allowed to do more stuff. But we're still going to make sure that there is enough people to defend the spears. So we're going to either pair up. All right, you need to choose a sword and shield with a polearm or a sword and shield with a 9-foot spear. And you need to say, all right, what's your name? My name's Peter. What's your name? My name's Eric. All right, you two are now together. All right. Then when you start working together as a group, as a pairing, you now have a better understanding of, hey, I need you to be on my right side instead of my left. All right, I'm shifting. And then that type of thing. Or, hey, say you're doing the spear. All right, sword and shield, get ready. They're going to be attacking. So I'm going to step behind you. Okay, I'm ready. Oh, here they come. And then you step back and the sword and shield comes up, stops the attack, create a shield wall. Communication is the key. Understanding what's known as the environment. Every aspect around you, from do you have combat archers? Do we have high ground? How many weapon systems do they have that are 9-foot compared to ours? And that's when you usually get like, well, we got spear on spear. I like 9-foot spear because, hey, I'm short, I can dodge a lot, and the people with spear are usually in a big field battle or a ravine or even on a bridge especially, they get to be the ones that get to attack everything first. Hey, that's great. Then when they do a full force rush on you, you have to understand, you need to know as a 9-foot spear, here is my primary position on the, let's say, just take a bridge, for example. My main position is going to be right here. Now, all of a sudden, oh, they're attacking. I need to understand that my second position is off the bridge, right to the side. So when they start rushing through, I now can go and attack them at a 45-degree angle. So you need to know where your second placement is when you retreat, because it is a staged retreat. That is part of the whole understanding of the defense aspect. So when you attack, how are you going to attack? Are we going to attack forward? Am I going to have a rover? Am I going to delay? Am I going to break up their formation? All this type of stuff is in the attack phase. But you also have to understand the defense phase, which is going to be, what is my second step? How are we going to set up for the counterattack? What is my secondary goal for this? Am I just always going to be doing this, or am I actually going to try and swing around to the back? Am I going to try and get, say for example, you're doing a capture the flag. My main goal is to leg them and then rush and capture the flag. Because once you go and start rushing to capture the flag, part of the enemy's line or team is going to break up and go back and chase after you. Now it might be 5 against 1. Hey, that's great. You just took out 1 person when you're doing rovering, and now you're taking 5 away. You've just taken away 6 people for your 1. That's great. So this has been 40 minutes. So we've talked about 2 major aspects. Well, 3. We brought in the attack, defend, counterattack as an understanding of this is how you should plan. How do you plan the attack? And we briefly discussed defense and counterattack and how you need to start planning for those. So, but the 2 main attacks that we talked about for the small group is, I want you to take time away. Go out there and you're going to break up and take 1 minute away, okay? Second one is going to be about how to break up their movement or their formation, okay? We're going to talk some more aspects. Correction, it was delay. So the first one was delay. We're going to delay them for 1 minute. So, and then we talked about breaking up their momentum. So we're going to try to disperse their position. So we're going to talk about a couple more on the next one on wargaming, and then we'll talk about some more aspects about the defense and the counterattack. Okay, because as with the way the military always says, no mission survives first contact, which is very true. You go out there and everything, but you have to have other plans in mind. Am I going to go here? Am I going to shift to over here? Am I going to transition by moving my entire force over here and changing direction by 90 degrees? And like I said, all that really depends upon the way that they're formed up, the different weapon systems they have, the ground that you're on, all that type of stuff. So understanding the small group tactics allows you to understand how the general concept of medium and large melee tactics work. And it also gives you a base to understand how to develop your medium and large group tactics. So hope you enjoyed this, and we will have another one probably in about a week for more wargaming. Thank you very much.